Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. It's Monday, which means it's time for yet another one of our viewer specials. For those who are somehow not in the know, whether you're new to the channel, I say somehow because we do this every single week on Mondays. We show off duels from you all, the viewers, and I'm always really eager to get into the viewer special. I mean, in general, because I think it's really cool to be able to see decks that I don't get to play, on the channel, as well as just seeing different builds and playstyles from you all, the viewers. Of course, it's also a very cool kind of community thing that we do, right? Where we can come together, cheer each other on, watch each other's games, and all of that fun stuff. But I'm always very eager to see what you all cook up when we get a new pack release. This is going to be our first viewer special since the new pack and ban list came out. So we're going to be looking at some games that utilize some of these new pieces of support and how others are performing with them. If you are interested in having one of your games featured here for the viewer special, this 9-digit player ID is going to be the main bit of information I need. Well, I mean, yours, not mine, but I think you do that already. Yeah, just go ahead and leave your 9-digit player ID. Also, make sure that any replays that you have are saved publicly, so that way I am able to access them. If they're not saved publicly, I can't view them, and then I can't feature them. As far as where to submit this information, I have the Discord server. If you want to go ahead and check out the description below, there's an invite link to my Discord server, and there's a dedicated channel to viewer special submissions. One thing I get a lot of questions about too is a lot of people ask about deck lists that are submitted. I can't see the deck lists. I can only see the games that are submitted. But if you're interested in those deck lists, then you'll definitely want to go to the Discord, because then you can find the user who submitted that game and potentially ask them about it. I just get a lot of comments and notifications like, what was this deck list? What was this deck list? I don't know. I don't actually know any of the lists. So, but again, if you feel like hopping into the Discord, submitting your own games, or checking out what other people have submitted, yeah, that information is available there. Again, the invite link is in the description below there. Oh, also, I forgot to mention when leaving the information, mainly just need your player ID, but if you have more than one game publicly saved, definitely make sure that you're leaving the date and time and or the name of your opponent, so that way I know that that's the one game you want me to feature. It's also helpful if you want to include a little bit of information about the game. It could be as simple as I played this deck versus this deck, but even talking a little bit about how the game went, if you so choose to leave that info, can be very helpful. Also know that even if your game does not get featured, that doesn't mean your games are never going to get featured. Like I said, we do this every single week, so there's always future weeks to submit. And even if I don't feature your game on the like video itself, I probably watch it. I watch like probably about 90% of the games that come through, just because I'm usually curious to see what people are playing and all that fun stuff. So, like I said, we have a few games picked out that are featuring some of the more new support from the latest pack. So let's go ahead and check those out here. Okay, so the first duel for today's video comes to us from Super Dark Aqua. Super Dark Aqua has actually a couple of games where they are using a super heavy samurai deck, but not just any super heavy samurai deck. It is super heavy samurai Orcust. We're gonna go ahead and check out this duel here. So I'm interested to see how these two archetypes blend together. Looks like Aqua does have a very nice write-up in the viewer special channel there about the decks and how it plays, all that fun stuff there. So, alright, so we see immediately both the Super Heavy Samurais and the Orcust. Got the Wakaushi coming down. We have the Girisu in hand as well. Wakaushi for Big P.U.N.K, searching the Soul Piercer, normal Soul Piercer rather. Okay, looking like a good amount of Super Heavy Samurai stuff so far. It's interesting because I've wondered, like, the potential for gas with the Super Heavy Samurai cards is so high to build all kinds of boards, but of course the main issue with trying to use them as an engine is the fact that you can't play any spell or trap cards. So typically, at least in my experience, you typically see Super Heavy Samurai as like its own dedicated deck. So very interested to see what a variant is going to end up looking like here. Okay, Wakaushi effect's gonna set itself. Soul Piercer's adding the second Wakaushi. Stardust is the motorbike. And it looks like we discarded the Girisu there. Yeah, Girisu's in the yard now, yep. Okay, there's the scales. Bringing back the Soul. God, Soul Piercer is such a gross card. It's really, really disgusting how good that card is. Okay, yep, adding the wagon. Okay, and then we do, okay, our Pendulum Summon into the Genius Zones to let us add, and of course we get the Chain Block with the wagon effect too. Yeah, Chain Blocking with wagon here is actually pretty nice. And then we also get to add another card, yeah, because of wagon's effect, so another Soul Piercer. Makes sense, we can equip that and then at some point sync. Or link, or just, you know, get the wagon off the field and get another search. Baron popping the Soul Piercer is so gross, it's so cool. It reminds me of, like, you know, Baron popping Manadia Meek as well. Just using the Baron pop as part of your combo line. We've been doing that in quite a few decks lately, haven't we? Ooh, Gigant X. Okay, this is actually a card you can definitely play in Superheavy Samurai as well. But being a UR, you don't see it too often. I haven't used it, but we're actually going to use that to add Orcust Harpour. And now it looks like we're linking off the Genius and the Gigant for our Barricade Borg blocker. Barricade Borg is going to discard that Harpour we just added, and now Harpour can banish itself and bring out the Orcust Nightmare. So this is how we're end up pivoting into our Orcust line. Now here is Galatea, the one and only. Orcust Nightmare banishing itself in order to send the Symbol Skeleton. Yep. Symbol Skeleton F will bring back that Gearsu that we discarded a long time ago. Definitely coming back here. Gearsu sending the key, and now we get to Synchro Summon for the Borlode Savage Dragon. Ah, I see. So, yeah, basically, normally, if you were playing, like, pure Super Heavy Samurai, you would just use the Wakushi effect and go into the Sarutobi and then be locked into Super Heavy Sams. But again, we are instead pivoting into Orcust plays here. The Dingirisu as well. Such a good card. Attaching the Symbol Skeleton, and then we're linking the two of them off in order to summon the other Galatea, right? Yep. I've never played an Orcust deck myself, but I'm vaguely familiar with how they operate. Yeah, the field spell is what makes all of their effects quick effects, which is pretty insane. So yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Kaiju coming down over the Borlode Savage Dragon off the top, followed by a Lightning Storm, but of course we have far more than just the Borlode for Omnis here. We have the Regulus and the Baron as well. Although trading two of our Omnis straight up for two cards in their hand right off the bat isn't super great. Ah, it's the the true Sun God. You know, it's pretty easy to see somebody slap down a Ra card and be like, oh, Ra, it's just an anime deck. Oh, pure casual mode. But the Ra deck is, like, better than you might think. I would call it lower rogue. Probably the lower end of lower rogue, but I don't think that the Egyptian God card decks are necessarily just casual memes. I think that, especially Ra has so much backing support that there is decent potential. But of course, even a deck with as much potential as Egyptian God cards cannot stand the face of something like Super Heavy Samurai being such a dominant meta force. But not just any variant. Again, we saw this very cool Orcust variant here from Super Dark Aqua. So thank you very much, Aqua, for showing that variant to us. But we, of course, still have a couple more games to check out. Let's go now into the next one. Alright, so our next game comes to us from Sumra. I think it was the name over in the Discord. Let me actually pop that open and look here. Surma, sorry. Who goes by Maidless? In Master Duel. I love this name. This is a great name. Alright, they have a game where they're playing, let's see, it was... What? I lost it. Oh, here it is. Gold Pride P.U.N.K versus Spright. Two decks that I am very interested in, so... I'm particularly interested to see the extra deck here. P.U.N.K in general has a pretty wide open extra deck, and I feel like I forgot... Oh, I forgot a level 9 Synchro last time I featured Gold Pride P.U.N.K, so... That could be Trishul, but it could be any number of things. I'm always curious just to see what people are on. We're on... I actually did think about this, too, the IP Avermax line, with the Nitro Blaster, because this is one of the Gold Pride extra deck monsters that I did not feature. I just didn't have room for it in my build, but I don't think it's bad by any means. The Nitro Blaster and the Nitro Head are both definitely very good cards in their own right. We got the Dingirisu. Very, very nice. Alright, I'm really liking this extra deck. And this hand, too. This is a great hand, although we are going second here, so... We'll have to see what our Spright opponent does. Red and blue to grab the jet. So even if this is a variant, we might not see... Oh, they're adding double cross. That's interesting. We might not see the variant line. Or this could be pure Spright. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if someone else out there was actually on pure Spright. I feel like I'm the only person sometimes. Of course, I know I'm not. But yeah, wow, look at this. There's the Nimbles. For the Mantas, I don't... Okay. I've asked this before, and I have gotten some, like, responses that talk about niche use cases. But, like, can somebody... Is there an explanation of why... A lot of pure Spright players on the Nimble package now with Beaver 1 go for Manta. Sunfish just has always seemed better to me. Sunfish has pretty much the same effect as Manta, but it triggers when destroyed by battle instead of card effect, and it also sends a water monster from the deck to the graveyard. So not only is it easier to proc, but you also send the other angler and you get another summon for it. It can help you from dying if you just set the Sunfish and then your opponent battles into it, thinking that they just have to battle over one monster, you have a bunch. And then the Sunfish can help you Shadow Mosquito OTK. I just don't understand. I don't understand why you would use Nimble Manta when Sunfish just, to me anyway, seems 100% better. Like, obviously, I know if your Manta happens to get destroyed by a card effect, then it is better. But, like, what realistic world do we live in where that happens? Like, Spright doesn't have a way to actually pop it in Archetype, so I don't know. Looks like we're going for a pretty small but standard Spright end board here. Elf, IP, Carrot, and then presumably the set Double Cross. This is actually pretty weak for a Spright board. Well, relatively speaking. Okay, we're starting with the Terratop for the Takatom Borg. And we're linking them into the IP. That's interesting. Okay. They're using their IP to go for Nightmare Unicorn. Another card I'm not a fan of in Spright, to be totally honest, is Nightmare Unicorn. I think Goddess and Avermax are better. We pitched Ash Blossom? What are the other two cards that are ahead that we discarded? I mean, assuming another one is another Ash Blossom. I don't mean to criticize the opponent so much, but, you know. I'm a known... Yep, there's another Ash Blossom. I'm a known Spright fanatic, so... I do tend to be... I tend to perk up a little bit when there's a Spright, especially a pure Spright deck on the board here. Yeah, that other Ash Blossom is going to stop our Punk line, but we definitely still have a good amount of Gold Pride plays. And I've already noticed that this is something that can happen with Gold Pride Punk, right? Where, a lot of the time it's your Punk line, because that's what you start with, that's going to get disrupted. So you have to kind of fall back on the Gold Prides. But the Gold Pride cards are, like, they're really good. I like them a lot, so I don't think that's a drawback by any means. In fact, I think it ends up... Punk ends up lifting Gold Pride not just in being included within their deck, but also... again, by the fact that your opponent's likely going to use the disruption against all the Punk stuff, and then you can follow up with all the Gold Pride stuff. And, like, it's really easy to undervalue what the Gold Prides can do. It's like, oh, they just make these random extract monsters on the opponent's turn. But the Pinballer is an insane disruption. I don't think it targets. I'm pretty sure it doesn't target. And on top of that, when it leaves the field and the equip cards go to the graveyard, even though it does the destroying animation in Master Duel, that does not count as the card being destroyed. So it won't proc effects that activate when a card would be destroyed. It's just very, very good disruption. Yeah, it's kind of... I feel like it can be kind of easy to underestimate the Gold Pride cards, because they kind of typically just end going into the opponent's turn, more on turn one, like on these, like, you know, weak main deck monsters. But don't underestimate the extract monsters they can go for. They're very, very good. All right, we have, I think, one more game we're going to end up checking out for this video, so let's go into that here. Okay, our final duel for this video is going to come to us from SM. SM has a game where they are playing Laria against Branded Despia. Definitely eager to see this deck. Well, I actually have already seen Laria in action in our latest viewer duel stream. The very, very generous Oni Gurley, who gifted 20 subs in that stream. I'm still reeling from that, by the way. Brought Laria to viewer duels and just absolutely wrecked me with it. That VOD will be going up probably within the next week and a half or so if you're interested in checking that out on my other channel there. But let's go to start with a T-set pass, Maxi on the draw phase, which we have an Ash Blossom for. One thing I will say, I don't mean to criticize our opponents so much in this game, but One thing I will kind of say about the opponent, obviously I don't know what's in their hand, and to be fair, they did have a call by for the Ash Blossom anyway, but if your hand is so bad that you have to T-set pass, I really think you need to be making sure that you're guaranteed getting draws off of your Maxi to make sure that you can play into the follow-up turn and actually have plays, right? Like, there have been games where my opponent will do something like this, T-set pass, and then Maxi right away, and while normally I don't mind playing into Maxi on turn 2, if my opponent does something like that, I'll give them 0 draws off of Maxi because you've already told me with your opening play that your hand is awful. It is bad. And especially if I have Disruption in my hand, I can just sit on that and see if you happen to top deck something. And if you top deck one thing, I'll just use my Disruption against it and then go off on the following turn. So it's Maxi is one of those cards where I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's just Maxi, you know, whatever. You just throw it out and then you draw cards. But there is a skill, there is a degree of skill to the timing of when you use Maxi relative to your hand and the current game state. It's not always as simple as, oh, just throw it out during the draw phase, you know? So, again, to be fair, opponent here did have a call by for the Ash Blossom, so maybe they had thought of that, but at the same time, I feel like you would still want to chain it to a summoned effect to make sure you're getting the draw, to make sure that your opponent isn't just passing back to you. Although, to be fair, Laria is a deck that plays pretty well into Maxi. You can do, like, all the plays, from what Oni has said, you can do all the plays you need to and give them, like, 1 draw. It's kind of wild. We're adding the Gren Maju here. Okay. Putting the Dreaming Laria in the Pendulum Zone, using her effect to set up the Continuous spell before putting her on her comfy little extra deck bed over here. Adding the last 2 Dream Beasts that we didn't already have in hand. Summoning the Dream Devourer. And setting up the trap card. And then we get to Tribute Summon for the Vanities. I also really respect not battling into the face down monster here. Oh, they have a Raigeki? That sucks. I was gonna say, I actually respect not battling into the face down monster here, because there's kind of no reason for it, and although flip effects aren't really, like, too much of a thing, right, it's still, like, there's no reason to invite the possibility. You know what I mean? It's like, just make them have it. If it's an out, make them have it. Besides, like, attacking into this face down here, it's not like it's gonna, I mean, in the long term, it might end up eventually leading to our victory, but we don't have to be in a rush to take care of it right this second. Yeah, it looks like they end up having a Raigeki for that. Oh wow, this is a very interesting brand to build, Raigeki and Magician Souls. But it looks like they are linking that off with the Albas to make the Vert Anaconda. Interesting. I wonder if they're on, like, a variant and not just, like, a pure branded deck. It's kind of looking that way. Oh, they opened double Albaz? That's brutal. Their hand wasn't that good, was it? Actually, if we look at their graveyard, we can kind of assess what their hand was. It was probably double Albaz, Maxi Call by Raigeki, and then they drew into Magician Souls? I wonder if that's what it was. It seems like that's what it would be, yeah. Because if they had the Magician Souls on turn 1, they could have done what they did here and inverted for the Mirror Jade on turn 1, too. So yeah, I think their opening hand was double Albaz, Raigeki Call by Maxi. Like turning the Mirror Jade face down. It's so good. That Branded Banishment is a little bit scary because obviously of the Super Poly style effect. Gonna use the Dream Tower. It's so ridiculous that you get to add 2 monsters with this every single turn. It's so good. Yeah, and now with no Maxi or Vandy's Fiend, either of those to worry about, we can just slam down all of our Laria cards. And then just swing in. I was going to say swing in for lethal with the Gren Maju, but no, they do still get to bring back the Mirror Jade here. That is actually a little bit awkward. Oh, and they banish the thing. Okay, but we do get to run over the follow-up Mirror Jade. That's good. Putting another Dreaming Laria. Oh, and then we even get to use the Continuous spell to stop the Mirror Jade effect. Secret effect, totally forgot about that. The opponent's bringing back the Albaz, but they weren't able to fuse with these, looks like. Wait. We summoned another Albaz? Was that all 3? That is all 3. That's brutal. That's brutal. Going for the Albalanetus just to be able to battle over one of these monsters here. The Dream Defenders. Setting a card, we get to flip up the Lover during the end phase. I'm sure I Louvre. I don't know why I threw an R in there, but and here she is, the dreaming Laria herself, getting to banish the opponent's field. It's when it goes off, this gameplay loop is pretty ridiculous, honestly. Just being able to constantly add and cycle and banish the opponent's field. It just takes a little bit of work to get your extra deck down to 0 from what I can tell, but once you get there, it's like, whew. Yeah, then you just start summoning all these Dream Defenders and Dream Devourers, and it's just over. It's getting in with the Dreaming Nimble. That's good. I liked that direct attack with her. That was good. I very much enjoyed that. I very much enjoyed these games, and this game too in general. Thank you very much, SM, as well as everyone else who submitted. And even if I didn't feature your duels this week, I still want to thank you very, very much for submitting, because it's because we get so many submissions every week that I'm able to keep up this weekly series, and that's just cool. It's just cool that we're able to do that. So thank you, genuinely, thank you all so much. But that'll go ahead and do it for this week's viewer special. Let us now move on to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page, where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs, as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.